Okay. All right, thank you, Scott. All right, good evening, everyone. Let me welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners special meeting, the Zoom virtual meeting for Thursday, May 28th, 2020, 2 o'clock, and calling our meeting to order. For those of you that are on Zoom with us, you're becoming Zoom experts by now, I'm sure. Please remember to keep yourself muted until you're ready to speak. And all of those other folks that are joining us today, if you will keep your microphones on mute. And if there's any devices that may be close to you that might interfere with the Zoom meeting, I ask you to silence those at this time. This time I am going to do a roll call. Vice Chairman Mulwee.
Here.
Chairman Commissioner Abley.
Here.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes. Here.
County Manager.
Yes, here.
Okay. Deputy County Manager and Finance Officer.
Yes, sir, here.
County Attorney.
Present.
Sheriff Wiston.
Here.
Okay, is Caitlin with us yet? Okay, that will be good. All right, well, moving on to item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. At this time, the chair will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
All right, Vice Chair Mulwee.
Yes.
Commissioner Abley.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
And I vote yes also, okay, to approve the agenda with a motion by Jeff. Moving on to item number 3 in our agenda today is items for discussion. Our first item is from Animal Services, and it is a request for reconsideration of the proposed 2021 budget. And Kay, you will be presenting that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Caitlin Settlemeyer, the Animal Services Director, had to step away. She has an emergency situation with a dog, and I will happily make this brief presentation on behalf of Animal Services. This is a request for a small appropriation of some capital dollars for the new shelter. We would very much like to have a little something to start our capital savings account, if you will. We understand that this is a very difficult and challenging budget year, and appreciate all the work that's gone into the budget. And if there's anything that you could do, we would certainly appreciate it.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard Kay's report from Caitlin on reconsideration. At this time, I'll ask for your comments for this request. Vice Chair Mulwee.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's a tough budget situation this year, and I think it might be appropriate at this time because we've encouraged participation from private citizens on fundraising that we do something to get the ball rolling, get this started, even if it's an appropriation of $5,000, whatever it may be. I think it'd be prudent for us because we've been working on this issue for several years, and I think at this time to encourage participation, I think it's would behoove the county to lead the way.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Abley.
I feel very much the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Britton.
I concur with that also.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have some considerations and thoughts that are looking at this subject. We have gone from $72,000 2 years ago to now we're at $440,000. That's a 700% increase in that budget. Also, we still have $94,235 under the Sheriff's Department for animal control. If you include that, you're up at 800% over the budget 2 years ago. I think the budget is large enough, Mr. Chairman. it would be, I think, easy enough for her to find $5,000, even though I recognize that's not a whole lot of money. It's a matter of coming back and asking and asking and asking. And I believe our board has adopted a new slogan. Always spending, always taxing to cover the spending. And again, it's not that much money. It's just the principle that how much more we spending every year for people to come back and keep asking for more money. I believe this board should begin to practice some discipline in the budget process and in the spending process. End of story. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor, for your comments. Madam Clerk, the chair would also agree that this is a capital project. This is not in the request for the budget itself for salaries or anything else. This is just to help us get those volunteers and other potential people out there that is willing to help us in fundraising activities to look at construction years down the road of a new facility. And I think $5,000 set aside as seed money that is not going to be spent anytime soon is a valid request. All right. Does anybody else have any other comments or directions at this time regarding this reconsideration? All right, Mr. County Manager, did you understand what was said on that one?
Yes, sir.
Margaret, any questions? Margaret? Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. All righty. So we have our direction on item number 1 for reconsideration. Let's move into item number 2 for reconsideration. That will be from the Sheriff's Department. As I said, a reconsideration for the 2021 budget presented by the sheriff. Sheriff, you've sent us a lot, not a lot, you have sent us some information regarding your request or for reconsideration. As you move through this, if you are referring to a particular document, if you would help us out, page number, paragraph, or whatever, so I can keep up with you, because I've got yours all here in front of me, and I want to make sure I don't get lost. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely.
All right, sir. Take her away.
Mr. Chairman, would you like for me to share my screen? Sorry, Sheriff. Would you like for me to share the screen?
Has everybody got a copy of this, or does everybody want to do a screen share?
Or a shared screen, personally.
Okay, let's share that. Okay. All right, there we go, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you all for the opportunity to come before the board and present this information. There's a lot of complexities to run in the jail, and so we have tried to be as streamlined as we can, but you still end up with 2.5 pages. I don't know if you want me to read it or if you want to just ask me questions. Do you have a preference, Mr. Chair?
Sheriff, are you going to start with the jail or the sheriff's office?
She's got the jail up, so I'll start with the detention officer.
That's good.
So, Mr. Chair, do you want me to read it, or do you want to just ask questions, or how do you want me to do this?
Highlight it for us, and then we'll open it up for questions.
All right. As it starts off with, we started back several years ago, actually, looking at how to operate the jail before we ever even started building. And we ended up among ourselves with 74 staff members of what we estimated we would need long before the jail ever opened. When we did submit a request in FY 1920, we requested 60 staff members to initially open the jail. At that time, the county manager's recommended budget was for 40. So during a requested budget reconsideration hearing, the commissioners did agree for Commissioner commissioners, chair, vice chair, I think county administration, and sheriff's office command staff to meet and try to work out a plan that we could all be comfortable with. So during that meeting, we all reached a consensus for 45 jail staff, and that's how we originally opened up the jail. At the time, we thought we would have about 170 people on an average day. We also made a decision to reevaluate the number of jail staff needed to operate the jail at full capacity sometime in the future. On the third paragraph, subsequent operating the jail for 4 months, we ended up requesting 20 additional officers for FY 2021 that would begin in July. The county manager recommended 12 of those positions, so we asked for another budget reconsideration for today. And I thought it was important, if you go to obstacles and educational issues to overcome A, hiring detention correction staff, as most of you are familiar with by watching news or whatever, is extremely difficult statewide. And the sheriff's office has been unable to hire or retain sufficient staff to meet our current allocations of 55 staff. And as of today, we only have 50. We still have 5 vacancies. Under B, due to that situation that I just shared, the sheriff's office has 19 officers that must complete mandatory 1-month detention training, and that's within 1 year from the date of hire with any agency. So in other words, if we hire somebody from another county, and in this particular situation, we were hiring people from Burke Catawba that had not been to detention certification school, we still were using the timeline of when they were hired with Burke Catawba to get those 1-month mandatory training, or we lose them. We get a cease and desist letter, they can no longer work. Because of that, we've got 19 of our current staff that must go to that school, some of them within a few weeks. Looking under C, the sheriff's office believes the vast majority and probably all of the people that we end up being able to hire, in addition to the current staff, will need to go to that 1-month jail certification school, and then obviously they'll have to have on-the-job training before they can actually do the work. Moving to D, coordinating and securing a sufficient number of experienced officers to work that required overtime for all the detention officers to go to the 1-month school is going to be a significant challenge. We realize obviously you cannot send them all at one time, but you cannot go to jail, operate the jail. So we're trying to set up some schools as we talked and work out some kind of plan to get everybody, the new officers and the 19 people that we have now, through the school. Moving on to F, I think it's important to realize that our transport and the downtown holding of defendants requires 4 officers. Those are 2 sworn and 2 non-sworn. Those 4 officers should not be counted in the Burke County Jail detention officers who supervise arrestees, and that's important as you get further into the document. Under G, in addition to the obstacle listed above as F, there's a jail administrator, 2 lieutenants, the maintenance tech, the state transport officer, DCI classification officer, and administrative assistant. Those staff also should not be included in the jail detention officers who supervise arrestees. Moving on to H, if you remove those 11 Burke County Jail employees that I just mentioned in F and G, that leaves 44 detention officers, which divided by 4, that leaves 11 per shift to operate the control room, booking process, and supervise all of the arrestees throughout the jail. Moving on to page 2, under I, the new jail's compliance with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services directs supervision policies where officers and arrestees are periodically come together in a common area. That's called direct supervision. We have moved into direct supervision with the new jail because of the new policies. That, along with the jail's large footprint and the 2-level construction, requires officers to walk between 4 and 6 miles in a 12-hour shift. That's something really that we didn't foresee until we actually open up the jail and determine how long, how far officers would have to walk. And that's been a burden for some of the officers. We've got to be very conscientious now when we hire people that they can easily walk 4 to 6 miles in a 12-hour shift. Now, obviously, when they work overtime, many are required to work overtime in times of vacancies, and many will be required to work overtime when we go to sending these detention officers to certification school. They'll be walking many more miles than that as they work additional hours on the shift. We wanted to share under J, the National Institute of Corrections staffing recommendations. And those are based on jail posts. And we didn't want to get too far into the weeds, but we did list some information from the NIC, National Institute of Corrections, about how they figure posts. And it's not numbers of inmates they look at. They recommend 4.2 staff for every 24-hour coverage of a 24/7 post, 365 days a year. So when you think about 4.2 staff to cover one of those posts, obviously you can't hire 2/10 of a person. So they go on to say, understanding the 24/7 coverage requires 4 shifts. Sheriff's Office would need to hire a 5th officer for each of those 4 shifts to have continuous coverage of a permanent post. And then I note the NIC's information covered on the last page. Under K, another example that most people would never know, and we would not know unless we work in the jail profession, is one of the things that you don't think about. It doesn't seem logical, but it's reality for us. If you add a single juvenile to the jail, it necessitates designating 5 detention officers to supervise that one juvenile. Those juvenile officers cannot supervise both adult and juvenile pods. So what we're currently having to do is an officer that's working in booking, which makes you short in booking, has to shuttle back and forth from the juvenile pod to booking, and we need to remedy that. L, currently we're performing jail duties during the pandemic, which everybody is struggling to get through that. Along with the vacancy of 5 officers, it is really tasking the jail to take temperatures of everyone entering the jail. We're performing significant cleaning. We're anytime a new person comes into the jail, they are put in a separate cell. We're having to disinfect and monitor. And anytime they go to court and come back, it starts that 4-day time period again for them to stay away from other inmates. Moving on to M, as the North Carolina courts reopen, especially the district court on June 1st, we expect a significant increase of arrestees to come through the jail. We foresee that there'll be many fails to appear, warrants issued, orders for arrest issued for those people not showing up for court. So we see a big influx initially as the North Carolina courts open up. Another thing that I thought was important under N is Captain Huntley attended the Jail Administrators Institute of Leadership training session, and he learned the following that was pretty eye-opening. There are approximately an average of 19% more jail instances involving fires, assaults, contraband, and suicide attempts when with an understaffed jail. And obviously it's pretty common knowledge to think about why that you just don't have the staff to watch them when they have an opportunity to secret contraband, to try to commit suicide, start fires, and do those things. So we put that in there because we think it's very important for the commissioners who have to make the decisions on funding to understand some of the ramifications of not having a fully staffed jail. And then O, we would love for any of the commissioners that desire to do so to come to the jail and really shadow the detention officer. I think that if you want to get the full effect, you would need to work a 12-hour shift, and that's a long shift. But I don't think until you actually work in the jail and the detention officer's shoes, the one that's on the floor, you have a good concept of what all that you face. So if any of you would like for us to set up a time that you could come, we would love to have you. So with all of that information, we listed a section about paths to success for safely and responsibly operating the Burke County Jail for the staff, the arrestees, the contracted employees, such as our medical staff and our counselors and others who happen to be in the jail. And so we came up with these 5 items. First, the Burke County Jail must first house our own Burke County arrestees and defendants. Prior to the pandemic, our own population sometimes reached 200. I don't think there'd be very much argument in that. We've got to house our own first. Then bed rentals, number 2, bed rentals will be determined by the remaining vacant beds available. 3, subsequent to the Sheriff's Office hiring and training the new detention officers, the Sheriff's Office can begin renting the available vacant beds to generate revenue for our county, which we all obviously want to do. 4, the Sheriff's Office asked the commissioners to grant the 20 additional detention officers as originally requested in the pending budget request. And I'll reference the table below in just a moment. In addition to the 20 requested detention officers, those officers that work the 24-hour post, the Sheriff's Office asked that the commissioners grant a sworn lieutenant's position, as was also requested in the pending FY 2021 budget. The lieutenant would assume a variety of roles, including a new task of the SMCP, that's State Misdemeanor Confinement Program Manager. We think that will be the best source for us to rent our beds through, but it does require a lot of work, a lot of paperwork that you have to go special training and things. But again, I think it will give us the best ability to rent our beds and raise that revenue. Also included beyond that SMCP manager's position, this lieutenant would be involved as the training coordinator, and specifically OC spray, aspartame, and other required training that we must do there in the jail. They would also serve warrants. We don't have a sworn person other than the jail administrator, who's Captain Huntley, to actually serve warrants, and we really don't want him serving warrants and performing other jail duties requiring a sworn officer's ability. And then lastly, to cover for other lieutenants, there's 4 shifts, but we only have 2 lieutenants. So we'd like for him to be able to cover for a lieutenant that would not be there. And then, of course, any other necessary duties. Now, when you look at the table on the bottom of page 2, it's the number of the supervising detention officers. And that doesn't include those people I spoke about administrative, transport, courthouse holding facility, and there's other staff listed in F and G above that we went over. But these are the numbers that we feel like if we have these numbers of staff, we can safely and responsibly operate the jail. So you can see those. We've currently got 44 supervision detention officers to supervise the 170 beds, and that's what we're doing now. I'll tell you that it's difficult, like I mentioned previously, because of the pandemic and the 5 vacancies. It's difficult now to do that, but we're doing our very best to get through it. As you see, we've added 4 additional officers every step up, and the reason 4 is that that's 1 for each shift. So at 48 officers, we feel like we could fill 190 beds, 52 officers, 210 beds, 56 officers, 230 beds, 60 officers, 250 beds, and 64 officers to fill the 264 beds to be fully staffed. One of the things, Mr. Chair, that I want to make sure that we understand is that although there's 264 beds, 16 of those beds are cells that we use for various reasons. And what do we terminate? What do we call them?
They're isolation.
Yeah, isolation.
Segregation.
They're isolation segregation cells. So really you can't have people in there all the time. That's just for temporary holding. And then the last page is just the explanation of what I shared. What is adequate staffing by NIC? And they go into a little more detail. And basically they're just saying, you've got to understand this is 24/7. And in 24/7, it takes 4.2 people to work a post 365 days, 24 hours a day. So you must have some fill-in because you've got people obviously off for vacation, sick, training, or various reasons. So that's where you get the number of posts times multiplied by 5. We also did that, and when we multiplied our number of posts, and that's, again, to get into the weeds, there's 3 different types of posts, which is a little complicated. We didn't put all that in there, but when you multiply that by the NIC formula of post and the number of officers to man those posts, we come up again with the same number of officers that we're asking you for to run the jail at full capacity. So with all of that said, we'll answer any questions. And we do have all the command staff here that we can answer any questions you may have. So.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. We'll move down to our roll call for comments, starting with Vice Chair Moley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the comments, Sheriff. You know, we've met with you several times, and Captain Huntley, and you know, we've always, as a county commissioner, last few years have stepped up and pretty much given you whatever you needed as far as raises, as far as equipment, vehicles, build a new jail. We're doing the animal services thing, and you know, so I'm one that supports you as fully as possible. Obviously, we're all going through challenges, and I understand the information you gave us. I've been privy to most of it before, and so I've taken into account. And as I told Brian before, I felt convinced after the last meeting that number 12 would suffice to get the current jail up and full. I stick with that. I still firmly believe 12 positions is the number that will work. And, you know, in a perfect world, just give you 20. But, you know, honestly, in this circumstance, after looking at the numbers, 12 is the number that I feel fully convinced that would get the job done. So that's just my opinion. I think, like I said, we've given you as much as we can as possible. And, you know, one of the reasons we built that jail is because it's more economical and it takes less people. So, you know, at this point, I stick firm with feeling perfectly confident that the 12 positions, if given Brian my direction, I would stick with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Abley?
No comment.
None? Okay. Commissioner Britton?
Sheriff, give me a number of posts that the supervising detention posts you're talking about. How many posts are there?
16.
16.
Anything else, Jeff?
No, sir. I believe I follow everything.
Okay, Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, sir. Margaret, are you there? Margaret Pierce?
Yes, sir.
He's asking for 20 employees.
Yes,
Are
sir.
we still in the ball field that you gave me earlier? Around $53 million per employee for all the benefits? Is that correct?
It's approximately 50,000 per.
So at 20 employees, you're looking at $1 million more?
Salary alone is 673 plus benefits. I'd have to run the math, but that's.
Well, you said 51,000. 51 times 10 is 510. Double that, that's $1 million,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. 50,000 times 20 is $1 million.
Is it what? $1 million.
50,000 times 20 would be $1 million.
Thank you. Steve, you and I shared the same concerns when we started this jail. This year, just kind of as a recap, you can't help it. I can't help it. Yeah, I tried, but The finance retirement this year for the sheriff's department is 1.8 million. It's in your book, gentlemen, if you want to look at it. Operating the sheriff's office is 2.2 million. And from the detention of 2 years ago, it is up $2 million. You add that together, folks, and you have $6 million increase in 2.5 years. When you add this to it, it is going to be 7 million, or in other words, we have doubled the operating costs of the sheriff's department. And this does not include the animal part or any of that other stuff. It's a little disappointing, Sheriff, that we bought that vehicle to transport these people to court, and we said 2 people, and now you're telling us it takes 4. We really did not save any money in developing a bus transport instead of individual transport. The cost is, I expect when the year is over and you look back and the cost, it's going to be absorbent. I believe what you say, Winston. I believe you're probably going to need some more people. That doesn't make the budget look any better, though. I can tell you that. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Sheriff, I got 1 or 2 questions I want to ask you. Maybe the captain can answer this. When did they change regulations, the sheriff's regulations, that a person working in the juvenile dorm cannot work also at the same time in the adult dorm?
That's in the procedures that came out in December 1st for the new juvenile justice reform, raise the age.
Okay, that was in that bill. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know the rationale for that, Captain?
Pardon me?
Do you know the rationale for that?
I can't explain there's a lot of components to that raise the age piece that a lot of us didn't really understand, and but that was a whole different group of folks that decided that stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move down on page 2 there, Captain and Sheriff both, and item number 5 about a state misdemeanor confinement program manager. You're asking for a lieutenant for that. Tell me exactly what that person might do.
As a receiving county, it's a full-time job. The paperwork is far more extensive. You have so many hours or days, actually. It's usually ranges somewhere around 72 hours to respond back to SMCP, identify, let them know that you've received this person. There's no medical problems with them that you wouldn't require to use the transfer form to get them to DAC if your facility couldn't hold them. The sending county, they have no obligation, which is what we are right now. We are considered a sending county only. I have 1 piece of paper that I have to take care of. The rest falls on whatever county we're taking them to. It's quite extensive. There's you have to monitor all their medical, create an entire new MAR. It's a term for military medical records. It's called a MAR. It can't be one of those tasks that you put it on some other, say one of these current shift lieutenants or a shift sergeant, and then that person's off on their long 3 days. We only work 14 days a month in the rotation. So that stuff can't sit and lay dormant. It has to be acted upon. And you can only do this Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. You're not going to get any responses from SMCP or anywhere else after 5 o'clock or before 8:30 in the morning. No different than kind of the jail transport issue right now that we're constantly having to stay on the phone and just hit redial until you finally get somebody to answer the phone.
Anticipating, Captain, that we might become a receiver for SMCP, how many beds do you think we need to set aside to accommodate misdemeanors?
I've recommended to the sheriff to somewhere between 20 and 25.
And how much does each of those beds pay us through the state?
$40 a day. That includes in-house medical. So if they have to have a sick call and we have to give them some sort of a antibiotic or ibuprofen, comes out of that 40. The minute you step out of the facility for any reason, every bit of that is billed to SMCP to include the mileage for the travel and the deputy's pay while we're sitting there.
Okay. That's all the questions I have at the current time. Brian, you and Margaret won't have anything to say at this time about this part of the budget?
No, not at this time.
Margaret?
No, sir.
All right, let me double back, gentlemen. Has anybody else got any other comments after we have all spoken?
Mr. Chairman, I did want to make the comment that at Assembly Day, which was also attended by Zoom, the statement was made, and I think it's important that North Carolina has a $4 billion with a B, $1 billion deficit in its budget. And one of the comments that was made by the speaker was that he would not advise any counties to increase their taxes, to put on new people, and should not expand spending. Now, I know we've got a unique situation here and the sheriff needs some assistance, but I was going to ask the question, do we know how many new people altogether, including the sheriff's request, are we requesting to add this year?
New people to the entire budget you're talking about, besides the sheriff?
Yeah, everybody, all departments.
Okay, we'll get that answered in just a few minutes. I kind of want to stay on the sheriff right now, but I will get that answer for you, and Margaret is working on it right now.
That was intended to be for the sheriff's conversation.
I'm going to stick on the sheriff's, how many he's asking for right now, and I will get you the total of whatever else that we're asking for. Sheriff, with the beds that we have over at the new facility, do you feel comfortable in saying that there are inmates across the state of North Carolina where we could fill every bed in your facility if we chose to do so?
I'm not sure that we could do it now with the pandemic going on, but I feel sure after the pandemic slows that yes, we could do it.
And how much would we receive if we fill the beds with others, those beds that are not misdemeanor beds? How much could we receive for every bed that we filled?
I think there's a gentleman's agreement among sheriffs that most people charge the same $40 rate that the state does.
All right, thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions. Either one of the commissioners have any more comments or questions to the sheriff at this time?
Mr. Chairman, if you do not mind, I do have one. I had it down and looked over it.
Okay.
If we rent out space in the jail, that person that we're renting it to, are we responsible if he has a heart attack or something while he's in our jail?
Yeah, you heard what the captain said in response to another question. If there's anything that we do for him that we can do inside the jail, then we are responsible for those medical costs, which may be a prescription drug or something. If we have to take that person to the hospital, once they leave the facility, we are no longer responsible for any medical costs.
So that's no. That's what you just said.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, hearing those comments, Mr. County Manager and Finance Officer, are you okay with what you heard today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so very much. Sheriff, move on into your reconsideration for your office itself.
Oh, thank you, sir. The Sheriff's Office wanted to know that we're very pleased that Animal Services and Animal Enforcement Divisions will be moved under one roof in July 2020. Sheriff's Office believes that situation will be the most effective and efficient way to provide animal services for our Burke County citizens. The Sheriff's Office have requested 2 additional deputies in our FY 2021 budget to be placed under the warrant sergeant. The purpose of that was twofold, with permanent duties consisting of serving warrants, subpoenas, juvenile petitions, while backing up and answering calls for service during times of high call volumes. In addition, the plan was for those 2 deputies to be available to back up and assist civilian animal enforcement in dangerous situations and to assist them with felony criminal animal violations. The county manager did not recommend those 2 positions in his recommended budget. So the Sheriff's Office asked for a budget reconsideration here and then was granted for that today. So we're asking that the commissioners grant those 2 positions for 1 year to enable a more effective and efficient transition from the Sheriff's Office animal enforcement to the civilian animal enforcement.
Thank you, Sheriff. Moving down for comments, Vice Chair Mulvey.
Yeah, as we've been discussing, I just don't see how at this point we can add positions. We're just in a tough situation right now, and you know it'd be tough to recommend that to Brian at this point.
Mr. Abley.
Yes, I just don't think we can do that either and add more positions at this time. The budget, I mean, it's way out of kilter anyway, so no.
Commissioner Britton.
Yeah, I agree. I think with where we are, those 2 positions, I think we'll just have to try to see how it goes. I can't imagine needing that much assistance in the animal services for, you know, that we couldn't handle with what we have. And I might just, you know, make my comment as regard to the jail matter as well. At this point, I think, you know, possibly funding the lieutenant position to be able to manage the income of folks from outside our county. I think I could buy into that, but I think we need to move forward with the recommendation from our manager on the total positions and see how we can move forward getting those filled and see how that goes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of in agreement. And one other comment that I wanted to make was that I know 2 times in the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, we have identified specific people whose responsibility was 100% to see that the warrants and some of that stuff got delivered. Subpoenas and warrants were delivered on time. And here we are again asking a 3rd time that I know of for people to do those duties. Unless there's a workload schedule that would support that, I would say no.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. County Manager or Deputy County Manager, do y'all have any questions from us on these comments?
I think it's not clear about the lieutenant's position. I'm believing that I'm hearing the 12 additional detention officers stays there and no additional deputies that would be helping with animal control. So I don't know if y'all can clear up about the lieutenant position.
Scott, did you have a comment about the lieutenant's position?
At this time, I would just stick with the 12 that we agreed when we talked to earlier. I'd just stick with the 12, and that would be it.
Wayne?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Commissioner Britton?
I'll stand by my thoughts. It sounds like we need somebody to manage that operation. If we intend to bring folks in, then it's going to, somebody's going to have to do it. Maybe the sheriff can find somebody else to do it, but I'll stay with my comment as it was.
Okay, you're recommending the lieutenant in the misdemeanor confinement program, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Taylor?
I think I've voiced my opinion enough. Thank you.
All right, Brian, did you get all that?
Yes, sir. I'm taking it that there was not a majority to keep the lieutenant's position. Let me know if I misunderstood.
Okay. All right, Margaret, any questions?
No, sir.
All right. All right, Sheriff, you have anything else you need to say to us before we let you go?
That's it.
All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to item number 3 from Community Development is a reconsideration of the 2021 budget, and that will be presented by Scott Carpenter along with Shane Frisbee. Scott, you ready to go?
Had to get unmuted there, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
All right, you're unmuted. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, it's so good to see everyone. I feel like I haven't seen much of you all lately. My request is pretty straightforward. As you're aware, we've been working on this trail together for over 6.5 years now. I've been focused trying to loop the lake and to finish that important task. And right now we are about 2/3 of the way around the lake. We've built 20 miles of trail. In this latest request, that was before COVID, I had asked for $300,000, and in particular, that would have built a paved parking lot at Wolf Pit Road and another paved parking lot at Gwaltney Road. And the request was also for a piece of property that's an in-holding at County Park, about 2 acres that was just sitting there. So I know things have changed drastically, but I still push forward. And what that money would have done, it would have finished all of the trail in the north, northeast, and northwest sections of the lake area. And it would have finished up everything pretty much all the way to Canal Bridge for us. Now we have some money still left over from Duke Energy to help us make it the rest of the way around the lake. But we can't use that money to finish up a few spotty things that were left on the north, northeast, and the northwest sections. So what you're seeing with my request today are a couple of the items that were in my original request, plus the addition of gravel and geotextile fabric for the Wolf Pit Road trailhead. Can you go to the picture of the trailhead for me, Kay? This is where Wolf Pit Road comes out onto North Carolina 126. We've been diligently building this section of trail. This is the last section of trail to connect Harris-Wisnet Road all the way around to Canal Bridge. So it's a very significant little piece that we're working on to finish. You can see the blue line, the existing connector trail, and how that runs to your right and into the Fauna Flora trail. So that is actually built, it's being finished right now as we speak from the trailhead that's anticipated at Wolf Pit Road. Well, we are overrun with our popularity, as you are probably aware, with cars and use of the trail. I was just on the phone with a Duke executive yesterday, and she said that the Fauna Flora Trail and the Whippoorwill Farm Brewery are super popular in all of Charlotte, and that people come by the thousands up here every week just to enjoy those two resources. What I'd like to do is, fortunately, that area that you see shaded in gray is already graded. All we have to do is basically gravel that and put down geotextile and bumper stops, and we'll have 13 spaces there. If we don't, we'll have none. And this is a very strategic point right here for accessing the state park lands, accessing the mountains to the sea area, and accessing back to the Linville access area as well. So the other thing that I am requesting is 2 kiosks so that people have information on where we are with the trail system, how to get where, and how. And one of the additions we want to do this year on the kiosk is on the back of the kiosk, where the map is not located, is to provide information on other surrounding attractions for tourism. So we're asking for a kiosk for this location, as well as one over at the Linville River Trailhead. And we're asking for a Trailhead monument as well that would go there at Wolf Pit Road. So that is my request, gentlemen, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman, Scott, I was up there yesterday coming across the Linville River. Is that the little, I don't want to say sidewalk, but the little trail along the road there, and then it goes down there past the tree nursery and sort of stops, but is that what we're working on there?
We are, yes, sir. That is a part of this that we're finishing up. We're finishing all the way to the Linville River with a part of the trail, and the connector that you see here, where it says new trail,
right
at the end of the blue line, that connects us into the existing Mountains to the Sea trail. So that will become the Fauna Flora Trail. That's all built at this point. The last piece of this we need to finish up is the boardwalk. So the boardwalk is already funded, of course, and the materials have been purchased by our West Virginia crew, and that's going to be 550 feet of boardwalk that goes around the Linville access curve there, and it will be waterfront. It's going to be exceedingly popular. I think that you all probably realize that the Fauna Flora Trail has probably doubled the amount of tourism to the North Lake area. And I'm told by people that it will probably double again once we come across those dams.
Right.
We are very close to finishing this project, and I'm very aware of the economic situation. Brian and Margaret have done a fabulous job dealing with a terrible set of circumstances and coming up with the new budget. But I do intend to move forward with finishing the project that we started. Hopefully within the next 2.5 years, we'll have everything in place, everything secured, and funding in place to finish that loop. We're really that close, and we're trying to relook at some of the grants that we have been able to get because the match is quite high, and DOT is not money conscious, and they want us to overbuild by a lot some of the elements to finish the loop. So we're relooking at all those things.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Vice Chair Boyle, comments?
Well, we all love this trail so much, and it's tough it's a tough situation right now. And obviously we've been huge supporters of this, and we'll continue to be. It's just at this point, the budget is so tough. I was just thinking maybe this is something, so as a capital project that And I know, Scott, you've scaled it back and done a great job bringing it back to us, but is this something that we could not bring back when we start getting a better look at what sales taxes will be later this fall, and maybe take another look at it January 1, just because the budget is so tight?
All right. Commissioner Abley, any other comments?
No, thank you.
Mr. Britton?
In looking at it and having been up there just recently, and the numbers that folks that are on these trails and in these areas, I think I could live with items 2 and 3, putting the kiosk up and getting the gravel down. I hate to have a place that we could at least park some folks that's really already set, other than getting it graveled. I could live with items 2 and 3.
All right, Commissioner Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, I visited this category last year, and I don't know if y'all looked at it in your budget book or not, but last year the grants for trails and donations was $2,451,468. Do you know what that number is for this year?
No, I don't.
Zero. Absolutely zero. Was kind of a shocker when I looked at it. I was going to ask the question, Scott, does any kind of in-kind donation go work toward this? Because most of it is probably, product and labor. We can't get any benefit from any other direction.
Not really. We're really at the end of this thing. We have stretched all the money as far as we can stretch it on this north side. You all would be actually impressed if you knew what went on behind the scenes to get us to where we're at. It's a ton of work, and it's a lot of money juggling. Fortunately, you all have been very supportive on the trail. Shane, you got anything to add on that?
Just that I'm here as well. Just that with the Duke Energy funding for what was the Lake James Loop Trail, which really encompasses the north part of that, our last 2 Recreation Trails Program grants, which are for the Boardwalk and the side path that Commissioner Abley is talking about by Linville River. That's it. That's the rest of that money. And that's, we've spent, I think, about every dollar out of that account, and I think done quite a lot with it. So we're real happy to have all of our trail components completed at this point. And really right now we're suffering from a great problem, which is people really love this trail. And the county park extension that isn't even paved yet is already flooded on most weekends with cars and trucks and people with their dogs and bikes. And so the kind of old adage about a parking area, as soon as you build it, it's already inadequate. But I think that we've been incredibly successful on this project.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna do something that's not kind of my style, but I believe we have expertise on board. I believe we can find out of $94 million. I believe we can rearrange budgets somewhere where it won't have an impact. I believe we can complete this. And quite frankly, I think it'll do more good than some of the things that we passed today. That's a whole lot more money. I believe we can find the 18, and I think we can complete these few little projects, and it will hopefully bring us in more money by completing them than if we did not for the year. So we'd come out ahead. But I believe we have expertise in our finance department and in our management staff that we can find that little bit of money out of that huge amount of money and complete these trailheads. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Question, Scott, when would we want to build the gravel parking area?
We want to build that as soon as we can in July.
In July.
We want to build it because we already have that existing connector to there. People are wanting to flock. There are issues up at the end of Wolf Pit Road for people who are trying to access and go up to Short Off Mountain. There's been some conflicts with property owners and that type of thing up there. They've had people threaten to close the road down on Wolf Pit. So we desperately need this parking.
What would okay.
When that boardwalk goes in and people can walk along that lake for 550 feet of boardwalk from Linville Access, they're going to try to park at Linville Access and all along the road if we don't put them somewhere.
But you're only asking for 13 places, right?
Well, that's all I can get in where the existing grading is completed.
And what's the purpose of the 2 kiosks?
The kiosk is an informational kiosk that provides information on where you are, where the trails are, distances to places, and other attractions that are tourism in the surrounding area.
But we're living without the kiosk now with all those people up there, correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
So
from my perspective, you really don't have a, and I parked at the, I don't know what you call it. Is that the Linville River Trailhead there at the campground?
Yes, sir.
I parked there, a couple of days, well, not a couple of weeks ago, and we don't have anything there to kind of tell you which way to go, where you're going, how far is it. That's the issue with no kiosk. Folks, show up there and you don't know, you just kind of don't know what to do. You just start and you're kind of wandering all along.
Do we not have something downloadable, Scott? Because a lot of folks will download stuff on their phone before they get there and they can,
Well, Commissioner, what actually most people do is we have an image that we put on, which we're working to do in the future, and they take a picture of it, and then that downloads the information to their phone.
Sure.
But it would be on a kiosk.
It's not something they can go online and get.
Some people do plan ahead. Some people go hiking in flip-flops. I know that's a bane of most emergency.
Those same off the gorge too.
Right.
It's yes. So some people have different level preparedness than others do. So the most information that we can give at a kiosk generally helps the most people that it can. If they choose not to read signs, there's really not much we can do for them. But some folks do know where things are and they plan ahead and they do bring maps, and we've been working to make those available in different places at State Park and within our community. But a lot of people just know where the trailhead is because it's on Google Maps now, and they go there and they end up in the wrong place quite often.
How much are the 2 kiosks versus the gravel parking lot? I don't have it in front of me.
The 2 kiosks we will have built for $6,000, and the gravel parking lot would be $7,500, which includes gravel, geo, textile fabric, as well as a skid steer to maneuver and to spread that and shape it.
Well, I would be, I'd be willing to be flexible, at least on the gravel parking lot, maybe, because I know it's a big problem up there. Kiosk, if people don't download the thing before they get there, maybe we can wait to do the kiosk at a later time. I know we've had problems on Wolf Pit Road. Maybe this would alleviate some of that if we just did the gravel parking lot. My fear is you'll have people too, kind of looking at it as people just pulling off the side of the road and making a dangerous position right there on 126.
We already have that. On the weekends, we're filling up so much at the Linville Access area for just boat launch that they're parking up and down the road. We've asked Duke Energy to see if they can move up our new deep water access area and start the design and engineering next year. And what a shocker, I found out that Duke Energy is actually laying people off. And things have tightened up in their budget significantly. But we're still going to be working together on some other things, but I was surprised to hear that. The one thing that I think you all should keep in mind is anything we do like this will pay for itself. It pays for itself in tourism. And we are very popular. Nearly everybody that sells real estate at the lake has said that almost all of their requests are to be near the Fauna Flora Trail.
Well, and what's also nice is this isn't a recurring cost, which I understand. This is not a permanent budget item, so it does make it more attractive that it does pay for itself, obviously.
Well, and the other good thing is we'll be out of your hair next year because we'll be off to the section where we have money left over from Duke Energy. And we're already matching grants and things over on that section of the lake. And we're working very hard with property owners and others to give us what they can and to be as flexible as they can on matching, engineering and other things.
So you're saying you'll put that in writing, that you're not going to ask for dime one next year? If
I
this
can
is
probably put that in writing. Unless the economic situation changes good, then I need to pave 2 trailheads that we're leaving undone on this side of the lake.
Okay, what's on the Trailhead monument? That just names and everything and the name of the trail?
That is a monument. It has the fauna flora feather on it, and it has the name on it. That's exactly right. And those things are supposed to be located at every trailhead from here to Asheville.
All right. I can live with 2 and 3. I'd like to wait till January the 1st, but I think if it's absolutely necessary to, because I know I go up there on the weekends and there's people there everywhere, so I could live with 2 and 3 myself. All right, Brian, you got your direction on that, you and Margaret?
Include items 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think the majority of us was. Wayne, did you want 1, 2, and 3 or 2 and 3?
I'm mixed. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, 2 and 3, I think is Commissioner Taylor said all 3, 18.5, but I believe anything with the trailhead, and we can do that later on if necessary, but I think, to take care of the traffic and the trailheads themselves, 2 and 3 would suffice for right now. Okay.
Okay, and we can look at number 1 in January.
I think we can look at it in January. Like I said, I'd like to hold off on all up to January, but I'm kind of convinced after the traffic that's been up there that 2 and 3 may be something we should do right away.
Okay, so that's 13.5.
Yeah. Yep. Take a look at that and see what you can do with that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other comments, gentlemen, before we let Scott and Shane go?
Johnny, are we supposed to find it within the existing budget, or was that part of this?
No, not find it, do it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Shane, Scott, thank you. I think everybody is okay with what you presented today. Does that sound good?
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
I want you to know that we're not going to let COVID beat us down. We're going to keep on moving forward and finding ways to keep advancing the county even during these tough times.
All right, sir. Thank you for those great comments.
Thank
All right,
you
moving
all.
on to item number 4 is open discussion. This is an opportunity for any board member to discuss the recommended budget and provide any other direction or proposed changes to staff that you want to do. And we'll start out with Mr. Vice Chair.
At this point, I'm satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
All right, moving on, Commissioner Abley.
Well, the jail is always crawling my side, but nothing we can do about it. So, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Commissioner Britton,
I'm good with where we are.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, do all of you have your budget book? Could you turn to page 4 for a second, please?
Katie, you have that you can pull up?
I'll get it.
Okay.
Donnie, while she's getting that, I can answer Mr. Taylor's question about the number of positions requested.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
On number 2 of the same book, Mr. Taylor, Brian wrote a paragraph and it said there was a request for 53 new full-time positions, 1 part-time position, and 8 reclassifications of these requests.
We're going to add 53 full-time positions?
No, sir, that's how many were requested.
Oh,
I thought that's what you had asked, was how many were requested.
no, I was asked how many was in the budget for this year.
The next sentence states, of these requests, 21 new full-time positions, 1 part-time increase to full-time, and 2 reclassifications are recommended.
1 part-time?
1 part-time to full-time. Not an additional part-time.
Did that include the number for the sheriff's department?
Yes, sir.
So you counted 12 or 20?
12.
12. Okay, 12 for the sheriff. Okay.
Commissioner Taylor, do I have the correct page displayed? That's paper page 4, but it's page 7 of the PDF.
Yes, that is correct. You'll notice your budget calls for 90,000 and Margaret, out of these figures here, are any of them duplicated? Is anything under the significant Department of Revenues duplicated in the general funds?
Yes, sir. Those department revenues are included within the total general fund revenues.
So the entire amount of those was $19,178,000. Those are in the revenue sides of ad valorem tax?
They are in the revenues for the general fund. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then if you go to the other funds, any of those figured in that?
No, sir. Those are separate funds.
Okay. Missing from that other funds category is your fire departments. And I put a question mark beside of mine, Margaret. Last year it was 4,300,000. Do you have the amount for the fire departments?
For the pass-through money for taxes? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, that's funds being generated for Burke County through taxes.
They should be roughly the same, but I do not have that calculation. I was waiting to find out if the tax rate would be recommended.
Okay. Well, this will not be accurate because I'm taking out the 19,000 of the significant department revenues category, and it was at 132,915,530. So you're down to about a $113 million that citizens in Burke County are paying Burke County in one form or the other. Now there's an additional tax in there that I don't think is included. Is the tag tax included in here? car tax?
Yes, sir.
That it is included.
Yes, sir. It's in the ad valorem taxes.
Okay. Gentlemen, we are presently, as a board, spending $13 million of money that's paid by our citizens in one form or the other. You know that those Articles 39 and 42 are especially for the schools, and it goes to the school system, but it's still taxes. And the point I wanted to bring out to you is that we continue to increase and increase and an increase. And the taxpayer is paying the burden for everything going on in Burke County, just about. It's becoming a burden. I think I shared with you during getting the audit from church that we have in 5 years doubled the spending amount that we're doing out of Burke County. And then on top of that, Mr. Chairman, I have not had an opportunity, and I don't think anybody else has. We didn't get the book till last week. And there's a lot about this budget I still want to review, and I know I'm going to have some questions, comments. The tax rate being the highest around of anybody around us, any county around us. And we need to start planning a strategy and to get the taxes down in Burke County, not continuing to increase them. I know we've added, this year we'll be right at 150 employees added in the last 4 or 5 years. And we have the same 89,000 to 90,000 population. So it formula-wise, theory-wise, these increases are not justified. And I've said that for 3 or 4 years, but there's some hopefully new information coming down the road that will help explain some of this stuff. One of the things that they said at Assembly Day is that the $4 million would come with restrictions. And I'm going to step out on a limb and say, I think the reason you don't have a fund balance is because they're praying that money comes in and they can fix the fund balance. Anytime somebody wants to be secret with numbers, there's something to hide. This board should demand that that be resolved. But I do want to continue the budget hearings. It takes a lot of time to digest numbers and look at them. And I just have not had the time. I've been busy, but even if I had not been busy, there would not have been enough time to truly digest this budget for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other commissioners have any comments or questions? Anything at all you need to ask about? All right, Mr. County Manager and Finance Officer, any questions for us right now?
No, sir.
I don't have any. No, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our last item. It's a decision item. It is the recommendation to cancel the June 4th budget meeting. if we all are satisfied with what we have now, so the chair will entertain any kind of motions.
Mr. Chair, I move to cancel the June 4th budget meeting.
All right, gentlemen, we have a motion by the vice chair to cancel the June 4th budget meeting. We'll do a roll call vote on that. Commissioner Abley,
No,
what do you want from the June 4th meeting, Commissioner Abley?
I think we just need to have a little more time to digest this too.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Mr. Chairman, I've already endorsed that I,
okay, what's your vote on this? You want June 4th meeting, is that correct?
pardon?
You do want to continue with the June 4th meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the chairman votes no, so that is a 3-2 vote on that one. All right, let me remind you that June the 2nd will be the pre-agenda meeting, and it is our desire right now to hold that meeting in the county boardroom unless we hear something significant from the governor that changes our idea on what we have to do. But right now, please be prepared, and we'll make arrangements in the boardroom to social distance, but that is the plan right now, unless I hear something today from our health director or anybody else that has any problems with us doing that. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Chairman Moway,
Yes.
Commissioner Abley,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, we stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
Drink a lot of coffee. Sure do.